The archive room was cold and quiet. Dust floated in the pale blue light that came from the data screens on the walls. A young Velori researcher named Keth sat alone at a table. His gray fingers moved slowly across an old tablet. He was looking for something his teacher had mentioned years ago. The human exception, his teacher had called it. The one rule every species in the galaxy follows without question. Keth found the file buried deep in the council records. It was old, very old. He opened it and began to read. 300 years ago, a powerful empire called the Dreth Dominion discovered a small blue planet at the edge of the galaxy. The planet was called Earth. The beings who lived there called themselves humans. They had no space travel, no advanced weapons, no shields or warships. The Dreth saw them as easy prey. The Dominion sent a fleet of 100 ships. They planned to enslave the entire planet. They expected no resistance. They were wrong. The humans fought back with everything they had. They used weapons made of metal and fire. They hid in mountains and forests. They attacked at night. They never stopped. When one human fell, 2 more took their place. The Dreth killed millions, but the humans kept fighting. They learned. They adapted. They found ways to board Dreth ships and turn their own weapons against them. The war lasted 12 years. By the end, the Dreth Dominion had lost 60 ships and nearly 1 million soldiers. The humans had lost far more, but they never surrendered. Not once, not ever. The Dreth retreated. They warned every species they knew. Do not touch the humans. Do not provoke them. Do not enslave them. They are not like other species. They do not break. They do not forget. And they never ever stopped. The Galactic Council made an unofficial rule after that. It was never written into law, but everyone knew it. Every traitor, every warlord, every empire. Leave the humans alone. Keth closed the file. His hands were shaking. Far away from the archive. On the other side of the galaxy, a small cargo ship called the Wanderer drifted through the stars. The ship was old, but well cared for. Its captain was a man named Nathan Cole. Nathan was 43 years old. He had gray in his hair and lines on his face from years of hard work. He sat in the pilot's seat and watched the stars pass by. Behind him, his engineer Lisa Brennan was fixing a loose panel on the wall. That panel has been broken for 2 months, Nathan said without turning around. And it will stay broken if you keep buying cheap parts, Lisa replied. She was a practical woman with short brown hair and strong hands. She had been with Nathan for 8 years. A younger man walked onto the bridge carrying 3 cups of coffee. His name was Danny Vance. He was 24 years old and still believed the galaxy was full of wonder. Coffee for the captain, Danny said with a smile. Coffee for the grumpy engineer. And coffee for me. Lisa took her cup and nodded thanks. Nathan took his and finally turned his chair around. How long until we reach Nexus 7? Nathan asked. 6 hours, Danny said. I checked the schedule. We drop the cargo, pick up the new shipment, and we're back in human space by next week. Nathan nodded. It was a simple job. Easy money. Nothing complicated. Nexus 7 was a massive trade station in neutral territory. Thousands of ships passed through it every day. Species from every corner of the galaxy came there to buy and sell goods. It was one of the few places where everyone was supposed to be safe. When the Wanderer arrived, the station was crowded as always. Ships of every size filled the docking bays. Nathan guided his ship to a small berth near the outer ring. Stay sharp, Nathan told his crew. We make the delivery, we collect payment, we leave. No trouble. They walked through the station together. Aliens of all shapes and sizes moved around them. Some had scales. Some had fur. Some had too many eyes. Danny tried not to stare. In one of the larger docking bays, a massive warship sat like a sleeping beast. It was black and covered in sharp angles. Armed guards stood at its entrance. "Cathari," Lisa said quietly. "They're from the outer sectors. Don't see them here often." Nathan glanced at the ship but kept walking. He had learned long ago not to get involved in other people's business. Inside the warship, a tall figure stood at a window and watched the humans walk past. His name was Vorak Thel. He was a warlord of the Cathari people. His skin was dark purple, and his eyes glowed like yellow fire. "What are those creatures?" Vorak asked. His advisor, a nervous Cathari named Sorn, stepped forward. "Humans, my lord. From Earth." "Humans," Vorak repeated. "I have heard stories about them. Supposedly, they are dangerous." He laughed. "They look weak, small, soft." "My lord, the stories say. Stories are for children," Vorak interrupted. "I have conquered 12 worlds. I have crushed armies. I do not fear soft pink creatures." An ambassador named Salith approached. She was Valori, like the researcher Keth. She had come to warn Vorak about something important. "Lord Vorak," Salith said carefully, "I must advise you. There is an unwritten rule in this galaxy. Do not harass humans. Do not enslave them. Do not provoke them." Vorak turned to look at her. "And why is that?" "Because they do not respond the way other species do. They are persistent, vengeful, patient. Many have made the mistake of underestimating them. None have profited from it." Vorak smiled. It was not a kind smile. "Thank you for your concern, Ambassador. But I think these humans would make excellent workers for my mining colonies. They seem sturdy enough." Salith's face went pale. "My lord, please reconsider." "The Dreth Dominion. The Dreth were fools," Vorak said. "I am not." He turned to his commander. "Follow that cargo ship. When they leave the station, take them. Bring me the humans alive." The commander bowed and left to give the orders. Salith watched in horror. She knew what was coming. She had read the same files as young Keth in the archive. She knew the history. Vorak Thel was about to learn why the rule existed. And the lesson would be painful. Hours later, the Wanderer left Nexus 7 with its new cargo. Nathan set a course for home. Danny was telling a joke about a 3-armed bartender. Lisa was pretending not to laugh. None of them noticed the 3 warships that slipped out of the station behind them. None of them saw the hunter following its prey. The galaxy held its breath. The Wanderer flew through the dark space between stars. Everything was quiet. Danny was asleep in his bunk. Lisa was running checks on the engine. Nathan sat alone on the bridge, drinking his 3rd cup of coffee. Something felt wrong. Nathan had been flying cargo ships for 20 years. He had learned to trust his gut. And right now, his gut was telling him they were not alone. He leaned forward and checked the sensors. Nothing. The screen showed empty space in every direction. But the feeling would not go away. "Lisa," Nathan said into the intercom, "come to the bridge." A minute later, Lisa walked in. She saw the look on Nathan's face, and her smile faded. "What is it?" she asked. "Maybe nothing," Nathan said. "Run a deep scan. Maximum range." Lisa sat at her station, and her fingers moved across the controls. The sensors hummed as they reached out into the darkness. For a long moment, nothing appeared. Then 3 dots blinked onto the screen. 3 ships, Lisa said. Her voice was calm but serious. "Big ones. They're running silent about 2 hours behind us." Nathan stared at the dots. "How long have they been there?" "I can't tell. They're good at hiding." Nathan thought about the warship he had seen at the station. The black ship with the sharp angles. The Cathari vessel. "Wake Danny," Nathan said. "Tell him to get to the bridge." Then send a message to the emergency beacon. Use the hidden transmitter. Lisa nodded and left. She did not ask questions. She trusted her captain. Danny arrived a few minutes later, still rubbing sleep from his eyes. "What's happening?" "We have company," Nathan said. "3 ships following us. Probably Cathari." Danny's face went pale. "What do they want?" "I don't know yet. But I don't think they want to trade." The 3 dots on the screen began to move faster. They were closing the distance. "They know we spotted them," Lisa said. Nathan made a decision. "Full power to engines. Get us to the asteroid belt ahead. If we can reach it, we might be able to hide." The Wanderer surged forward. The old ship groaned under the strain, but it moved. Behind them, the 3 warships accelerated too. They were faster. Much faster. "They're gaining," Danny said. "I know," Nathan replied. "They almost made it." The asteroid belt was just minutes away when the first shot hit them. The ship shook hard. Alarms screamed. Red lights flashed everywhere. "Engine hit," Lisa shouted. "We're losing power." Another shot. Then another. The Wanderer spun out of control for a terrible moment before Nathan stabilized it. But the damage was done. They were dead in space. The 3 warships surrounded them like wolves around wounded prey. They were massive up close. Each one was 10 times the size of the Wanderer. A voice crackled through the communication system. It was deep and cold. "Human vessel. This is Lord Vorak Thel of the Cathari. You will surrender your ship and your crew. If you resist, you will die. You have 1 minute to decide." Nathan looked at Lisa, then at Danny. Both of them looked back at him, waiting for his choice. "We can't fight them," Lisa said quietly. "Not with 3 warships." "I know," Nathan said. He pressed the communication button. "This is Captain Nathan Cole of the cargo ship Wanderer. We are a civilian vessel on a legal trade route. You have no right to stop us." Vorak's laugh came through the speakers. "Rights. I am Vorak Thel. I take what I want. Surrender now, human." Nathan's voice stayed calm. "I'm warning you. What you're doing is a mistake. Let us go, and we can forget this happened." "A warning? From a prey animal?" Vorak sounded amused. "I think not. Your time is up." The largest warship moved closer. A docking tube extended from its hull and attached to the Wanderer with a loud clang. "They're boarding us," Danny said. His hands were shaking. "Stay calm," Nathan told him. "Whatever happens, stay calm. Don't fight them." "Not yet." The airlock hissed open. A dozen Cathari soldiers rushed in. They were tall and strong, covered in dark armor. They carried weapons that hummed with energy. The soldiers grabbed Nathan and his crew. They pushed them to their knees and put restraints on their wrists. Danny tried to pull away, and one soldier hit him across the face. Blood ran from Danny's lip. Nathan watched. His face showed nothing, but his eyes were burning. They were dragged through the docking tube and into the warship. The halls were dark and cold. Other aliens watched them pass. Some looked curious. Others looked afraid. Lord Vorak was waiting for them in a large chamber. He sat on a chair that looked like a throne. His yellow eyes studied the humans like a buyer examining animals at a market. "So these are humans," Vorak said. "The legendary creatures that everyone fears." He stood and walked closer. "You don't look dangerous to me. You look like scared children." Nathan met his gaze. "We're not afraid of you." Vorak tilted his head. "No, perhaps you should be." He turned to his soldiers. "The young one. Bring him forward." 2 soldiers dragged Danny to the center of the room. Vorak circled him slowly. "This one tried to resist," Vorak said. "I respect spirit, but spirit must be broken." He nodded to a soldier. The soldier hit Danny in the stomach. Danny fell to his knees, gasping for air. Then came another hit. And another. Lisa shouted and struggled against her restraints. Nathan did not move. He watched every blow. He memorized every detail. When it was over, Danny lay on the floor, bleeding and barely conscious. Varric turned back to Nathan. "Do you understand now, human? You belong to me. You are my property. Your only purpose is to work and to obey." Nathan's voice was quiet but steady. "You've made a mistake." "I've made a fortune," Varric corrected. "You will work in my mines until you die. And when you die, I will find more of your kind." He waved his hand. "Take them to the holding cells. We leave for the mining colony within the hour." The soldiers picked up Danny and dragged all 3 humans away as they walked through the dark halls. Lisa moved close to Nathan. "What do we do now, Captain?" Nathan's voice was barely a whisper. "We wait. We watch. And we remember everything." Lisa looked at him. She had known Nathan for 8 years. She had never seen that look in his eyes before. It was cold, patient, dangerous. "They'll come for us," she said. The beacon got out. Nathan nodded slowly. "Yes, help will come. But until then, we survive. We stay strong, and we make them regret every single thing they did to us." The cell door slammed shut behind them. The darkness swallowed them whole. Somewhere far away, a distress signal raced through space at the speed of light. It carried 3 words that would change everything. Humans need help. The mining colony was built into a giant asteroid. It floated alone in a forgotten corner of space, far from any patrol routes or trade lanes. The perfect place to hide slaves. Nathan, Lisa, and Danny were thrown into a processing area with dozens of other prisoners. Most were aliens from species Nathan did not recognize. They were thin and tired. Their eyes were empty. Some had been there for years. Guards in black armor watched everything. They carried shock sticks that crackled with electricity. One wrong move meant pain. A Catharia overseer walked through the new arrivals. He was shorter than Varric, but just as cruel. His name was Threk, and he ran the colony with an iron fist. "Welcome to your new home," Threk announced. "You will work 16 hours every day. You will eat when we allow it. You will sleep when we allow it. Try to escape, and you will wish you had died instead." He stopped in front of Nathan. "Humans, I've heard about your kind. They say you're trouble." He leaned closer. "I hope you try something. I really do." Nathan said nothing. He just watched. The prisoners were given gray uniforms and assigned to mining teams. The work was brutal. They used old tools to dig valuable ore from the rock. The air was thick with dust. The tunnels were dark and dangerous. But Nathan noticed things. He noticed how the guards rotated every 6 hours. He noticed which tunnels were less watched. He noticed where the weapons were stored. He memorized everything. Lisa noticed things too. She found broken equipment and spare parts in the waste piles. She began hiding small pieces in her uniform when no one was looking. A wire here, a circuit board there. Nothing obvious. Nothing that would get her caught. Danny's body was still healing from the beating, but his spirit was not broken. In the sleeping quarters, he met a young alien girl named Tira. She was only 12 years old. Her species was called the Mori. They had blue skin and large, silver eyes. Tira's parents had been killed when the Kethari raided her world. She had been alone ever since. "Why are you being nice to me?" Tira asked Danny one night. "No one is nice here." Danny smiled at her. "Because that's what humans do. We look out for each other. And we look out for the people who can't look out for themselves." Tira stared at him. "The other prisoners whisper about you. They say humans are dangerous." "We are," Danny said. "But not to you. Never to you." From that night on, Danny became the protector of the younger prisoners. He gave them part of his food rations. He told them stories about Earth to help them sleep. He stood between them and any guard who came too close. An old Valori slave named Marek watched the humans carefully. He had been in the mines for 15 years. He had seen many prisoners come and go, but he had never seen anyone like them. One night, Marek approached Nathan in the darkness of the sleeping quarters. "You're planning something," Marek whispered. "I can see it in your eyes." Nathan looked at him for a long moment. "What makes you say that?" "Because you haven't broken. Every slave breaks eventually. But you and your people, you're not breaking. You're waiting." Nathan was quiet. "I've heard stories about humans," Marek continued. "Old stories from before I was captured. They say when humans are taken, other humans come for them. They say humans never abandon their own." "The stories are true," Nathan said. Marek's eyes widened. "Help is coming?" "Yes. I sent a distress signal before we were captured. They know where we are." Marek started to tremble. "How long?" "I don't know. Days. Maybe weeks. But they will come. And when they do, I'm going to need your help." "My help?" "I'm old and weak. You know this place better than anyone. You know every tunnel, every guard, every routine. When the time comes, I need you to help me lead everyone out." Marek was silent for a long time. Then he nodded slowly. 15 years I've waited for hope. I'd almost forgotten what it felt like." Nathan put a hand on his shoulder. "Remember it now, and spread the word quietly. Tell the others to be ready. When the fighting starts, they need to move fast." Far away, in human space, a fleet of warships gathered at a military station. Admiral Grace Holloway stood on the bridge of the flagship, reading the distress signal for the 10th time. "Humans need help. Coordinates attached." Cathari involvement confirmed. Grace was 55 years old. She had silver hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. She had commanded ships for 30 years. She had seen many battles, but she took every mission personally. "What do we know about the location?" she asked her tactical officer. "Mining asteroid in the outer sectors, Admiral. Belongs to a warlord named Varric Thel. Intelligence says he's been running slave operations there for decades." "And our people?" 3 confirmed. Captain Nathan Cole, Engineer Lisa Brennan, crew member Danny Vance. Cargo ship Wanderer was disabled and captured near Nexus 7. Grace studied the star map. The asteroid was deep in Cathari territory. Getting there would be difficult. Getting there quietly would be almost impossible. "How many ships does Vorak have?" she asked. "Our best estimate is 12 warships plus various support vessels. And we have 5 ships ready, Admiral. 3 more can join in 48 hours. 5 against 12. Those were not good odds for most species. But humans had never worried much about odds. "Set a course," Grace ordered. "Maximum speed? We leave in 1 hour." "Admiral, shouldn't we wait for the other ships?" Grace turned to look at the officer. 3 of our people are in chains right now. Every hour we wait is another hour they suffer. We go now." The fleet entered hyperspace within the hour. 5 human warships cutting through the darkness like arrows dot at the Galactic Council. Word spread quickly about what had happened. Ambassador Selith stood before the council elders with fear in her heart. "Lord Vorak has taken human prisoners," she reported. "He plans to use them as slaves." The chamber erupted in worried murmurs. Council Elder Morthax, an ancient being with green scales and tired eyes, raised his hand for silence. "Has Vorak been warned?" Morthax asked. "I warned him myself, Elder. He did not listen." Morthax sighed deeply. "Then there is nothing we can do. The rule exists for a reason. We cannot protect those who break it." Another elder spoke up. Should we intervene? Try to negotiate? Morthax shook his head. This matter is now between the Ketheri and humanity. We will not interfere. We cannot interfere. Anyone who stands between humans and their captured will be swept away. He looked out at the assembly. Pray for the souls of Vorak and his followers. They will need it. In the mines, Nathan lay in the darkness and counted the days. Lisa had almost finished building a device that could disable the electronic locks. Danny had mapped the fastest routes to the surface. The other prisoners were ready. Soon, Nathan thought. Soon. Above them, in his private chambers, Lord Vorak celebrated his new acquisitions. He had no idea that 5 warships were racing toward him at speeds that bent space itself. He had no idea that the galaxy was about to teach him its oldest lesson. Never. Harass humans. The alarms woke everyone on the mining asteroid. Red lights flashed in the tunnels. Guards ran through the corridors shouting orders. Something was happening. Nathan sat up in the darkness. He felt it in his bones. They were here. Lisa, he whispered. Is the device ready? Lisa pulled a small metal box from under her sleeping mat. Ready. It should open any electronic lock within 10 meters. Danny, you know the route? Danny nodded. Tunnel 7 to the cargo bay. Then up the service shaft to the surface. Nathan looked around at the other prisoners who were awake and watching him. Old Mark, young Tira, dozens of others who had been waiting for this moment. When the lights go out, we move, Nathan said. Stay together. Protect the ones who can't fight. Don't stop until you reach the surface. Above the asteroid, space was on fire. 5 human warships had dropped out of hyperspace right in the middle of Vorak's fleet. There was no warning, no negotiation, just the sudden appearance of death itself. Admiral Grace Holloway stood on the bridge of her flagship, the Relentless, and watched the chaos unfold. Target their weapon systems first, she ordered. I want them unable to fight before they know what's happening. Human ships were smaller than Kethari warships, but they were faster, smarter, and crewed by people who trained for exactly this kind of fight. The first volley disabled 2 Kethari ships before they could raise shields. The second volley destroyed a 3rd ship completely. The remaining vessels scrambled to respond, but the humans were already moving, circling like wolves, striking from every direction. On his flagship, Lord Vorak screamed at his commanders. Fight back. Destroy them. My lord, they're too fast. We can't track them. Then launch all fighters. Overwhelm them with numbers. Hundreds of small Kethari fighters poured out of the warships. They swarmed toward the human fleet like angry insects. But the humans had expected this. Their point defense systems lit up the darkness with thousands of precise shots. Fighters exploded by the dozen. Commander Torek, Vorak's most experienced captain, watched in horror as his squadron fell apart. This is impossible, he said to no one. They're anticipating our moves. It's like they know what we're going to do before we do it. That was the human advantage. Centuries of warfare had taught them to think, adapt, and predict. Every soldier, every pilot, every commander was trained to analyze and respond in real time. What other species did by instinct, humans did with cold, calculating intelligence. Inside the asteroid, the power flickered. Then it went out completely. Emergency lights came on, dim and red. Guards looked around in confusion. They had never experienced a power failure before. Nathan moved. Lisa's device hummed, and the cell locks clicked open. Prisoners poured out into the corridors. Guards shouted and raised their weapons, but they were outnumbered and unprepared. Nathan grabbed a shock stick from a fallen guard and swung it hard. The guard went down. More prisoners armed themselves with whatever they could find. Mining tools, chains, rocks. This way. Nathan shouted. "Follow me." The uprising spread through the asteroid like wildfire. Prisoners who had been beaten and starved for years suddenly found their strength again. They fought with the desperate fury of people who had nothing left to lose. Danny led a group of children through a side tunnel. Tira held his hand tightly, too scared to speak. Behind them, they could hear the sounds of fighting. A guard appeared in front of them, blocking the path. He raised his weapon and smiled. "Where do you think you're going, little ones?" Danny pushed the children behind him. "Run. I'll hold them off." "Danny, no!" Tira cried. "Go! Now!" The children ran. Danny faced the guard alone. He had no weapon, no armor. Just his fists and his determination. The guard laughed and swung his shock stick. Danny dodged the first strike, then the second. On the third swing, Danny caught the guard's arm and twisted hard. The guard howled in pain and dropped his weapon. Danny picked it up and hit him across the head. The guard fell. But before Danny could move, another guard appeared behind him. He never saw the blow that knocked him to the ground. Pain exploded through his skull, and the world went dark. In space, the battle was almost over. 8 Cathari ships had been destroyed or disabled. The remaining 4 were trying to retreat, but human ships blocked every escape route. Admiral Holloway's face appeared on Vorak's screen. "Lord Vorak Thel," she said. Her voice was calm, almost bored. "Your fleet is defeated. Your escape routes are blocked. Release our people now, and you may live." Vorak's face twisted with rage. "You dare threaten me? I am Vorak Thel. I have conquered 12 worlds." "You've never fought humans before," Grace replied. "This is your only warning." Vorak cut the transmission. He turned to his weapons officer. "Target that ship. Fire everything." His flagship launched every missile it had. They streaked toward the Relentless in a wave of fire and death. The human ship didn't even try to dodge. Its point defense systems tracked every missile and destroyed them one by one. The explosions lit up the darkness like fireworks, but not a single one reached the hull. Then the Relentless fired back. A single precise shot hit Vorak's engines and disabled them completely. "Prepare boarding parties," Grace ordered. "I want Vorak alive." On the asteroid's surface, the first human Marines landed. They came in fast assault shuttles, 20 soldiers in each one. Their armor was black, and their weapons were ready. They swept through the mining facility with terrifying efficiency. Every guard who surrendered was restrained. Every guard who fought was eliminated. Within 30 minutes, the surface was secure. Nathan led the prisoners out of the tunnels and into the landing zone. Hundreds of freed slaves emerged into the light, blinking and crying and unable to believe what they were seeing. Human soldiers moved among them, offering water and medical care. For many of the slaves, it was the first kindness they had experienced in years. "Danny!" Nathan shouted, looking around. "Where's Danny?" Lisa ran up to him, her face pale. He was protecting the children. He didn't come out with them. Nathan's heart went cold. He grabbed the Marine by the arm. "There's a man still inside. Young, brown hair. He was with the children. We're still clearing the lower tunnel, sir. We'll find him." Nathan started to run back toward the entrance, but Lisa stopped him. "You can't," she said. "Let them do their job. They'll find him." 10 agonizing minutes passed. Then a shuttle emerged from one of the cargo bays. A medic appeared at the door, waving. "We've got him. He's hurt, but alive." Nathan and Lisa ran to the shuttle. Danny was lying on a stretcher, his face covered in blood, but his eyes were open. Did the kids make it? Danny asked weakly. Lisa laughed and cried at the same time. "Yes, you idiot. They made it." Nathan looked down at his young crew member. Pride swelled in his chest. "You did good, Danny. You did real good." Tira appeared beside the stretcher. She was crying too. "You saved us," she said to Danny. "You saved all of us." Danny managed a small smile. "Told you. That's what humans do." Above them, Marines breached Vorak's flagship and fought their way to the bridge. Vorak stood in the center of the room, surrounded by his last guards. He held a weapon in his shaking hands. "Stay back," he screamed. "I am Lord Vorak Thel. I am." A stun round hit him in the chest. He collapsed to the floor, unconscious. The Marine commander looked down at him with no emotion. "You're nothing," he said. "Take him." The battle was over. The humans had won, but the lesson was just beginning. The medical bay of the Relentless was full of freed prisoners. Doctors and nurses moved between beds, treating injuries that had gone ignored for years. Some prisoners slept peacefully for the first time in decades. Others simply sat and stared, unable to believe they were finally safe. Danny lay in a bed near the window. His head was wrapped in bandages, and his ribs were cracked, but he was smiling. Tira sat beside him, refusing to leave. "The doctors say you'll be fine," Nathan said. He stood at the foot of the bed with Lisa beside him. "A few weeks of rest, and you'll be back to annoying us on the ship." "Can't wait," Danny replied. "I miss terrible coffee and broken panels." Lisa laughed. The panels were almost fixed, almost as not fixed. Admiral Grace Holloway entered the medical bay. She was still wearing her uniform, still carrying the weight of command, but her eyes were warm as she approached Nathan and his crew. "Captain Cole," she said, "your distress signal saved not only your crew, but hundreds of other prisoners." That beacon was a brave decision. Nathan shook his head. "I just pressed a button. My crew did the hard part. Danny protected the children. Lisa built the device that freed everyone. I just watched." Grace smiled slightly. "Humble. I like that." She paused. "We're taking Vorak to the Galactic Council. They've requested he appear before them to explain his actions." "What happens to him?" Lisa asked. "That depends on the council. But I imagine his reputation is already destroyed. No one in the galaxy will trust him again." Nathan thought about Vorak's yellow eyes and cruel smile. He thought about Danny lying on the floor, bleeding. He thought about Tira crying in the dock. "Good," he said. 1 week later, the Galactic Council chambers were packed with representatives from every corner of the galaxy. Thousands of beings filled the seats, all watching the center platform where Vorak Thel stood in chains. He looked different now. The confidence was gone. The cruelty was replaced by fear. His once proud posture had collapsed into something small and broken. Council Elder Morthak sat at the head of the chamber. His green scales caught the light as he raised his hand for silence. "Lord Vorak Thel," Morthax announced. "You stand before this council accused of breaking the most important unwritten law of our galaxy. You captured and enslaved human citizens. You ignored all warnings. You believed yourself above the consequences." Vorak said nothing. His eyes stayed fixed on the floor. "The humans have asked for something unusual," Morthax continued. "They do not want your death. They do not want your imprisonment. They want only one thing." He leaned forward. "They want you to tell everyone what happened. They want you to explain, in your own words, why the rule exists." Vorak finally looked up. His yellow eyes were dim and empty. "You want me to admit I was wrong?" "I want you to teach others," Morthak said, "so they don't make the same mistake." A long silence filled the chamber. Then Vorak began to speak. "I thought humans were weak," he said. His voice was quiet, barely above a whisper. "They looked soft, small, fragile. I had conquered 12 worlds. I had crushed armies. I thought they would be easy." He paused, gathering himself. "I was wrong. I was wrong about everything. They don't break. I beat their young man until he couldn't stand. And the next day, he was protecting children who weren't even his own species. I threw them in chains, and they used those chains to plan their escape. I surrounded them with guards, and they memorized every weakness in my security. His voice grew stronger, filled with something like wonder. And when their ships came, I have never seen anything like it. My fleet outnumbered them more than 2 to 1. It didn't matter. They fought like they could see the future. They moved before we could react. They never hesitated, never panicked, never stopped. He looked around the chamber at all the watching faces. I thought the stories about humans were myths, exaggerations, legends to scare children. He shook his head slowly. They're not. Everything you've heard is true. And the reality is worse. They don't just fight to win. They fight because they believe in something. They fight for each other. They fight for strangers. They fight for people who aren't even human. Vorak's voice dropped to barely a whisper. I enslaved 3 of them. 3. And they brought down my entire empire in less than a week. The chamber was completely silent. Let my fate be a warning, Vorak said. The rule exists for a reason. Never harass humans. Never enslave them. Never provoke them. Because when you do, when you give them a reason to fight, they will not stop until everything you built is ash and everyone you hurt is free. He lowered his head. I am finished. Elder Morthax nodded slowly. Let his words be recorded. Let them be taught in every school, spoken in every hall, remembered by every species. This is why the rule exists. Not to protect humans from us, but to protect us from what happens when humans are provoked. He struck his staff against the floor. This session is concluded. Nathan watched from a viewing gallery above the chamber. Lisa and Danny stood beside him. Danny was still healing, but he had insisted on being there. Think they'll remember this time? Lisa asked. For a while, Nathan said. Probably a few hundred years. Then someone new will come along who thinks they're special. Someone who thinks the rules don't apply to them. And then? Nathan smiled slightly. And then we remind them again. They left the council chambers and walked through the station toward the docking bay. The Wanderer had been repaired and was waiting for them. A simple cargo ship, nothing special. Just home. As they walked, they passed a group of alien children pressing against a viewport. Tira was among them. When she saw Danny, she broke away from the group and ran to hug him. Will I ever see you again? She asked. Danny knelt down to look at her. The galaxy's a big place, but humans have a way of showing up when you need them. So yeah, I think you will. Tira smiled and hugged him once more. Then she ran back to join the other children, waving as she went. Nathan watched the moment with something warm in his chest. This was why they kept flying, why they kept working, why they kept being human. Because the galaxy needed reminders. Not just about human strength, but about human kindness, human loyalty, human hope. They boarded the Wanderer and took their positions. The old ship hummed to life around them, familiar and comforting. Where to, Captain? Lisa asked from her station. Nathan looked out at the stars stretched before them. Infinite, full of possibility, full of danger, full of people who needed help. Home first, he said. Then wherever the next job takes us. Back to normal then. Nathan leaned back in his chair. For us, this is normal. We fly. We work. We help where we can. And if someone tries to mess with us... He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. The Wanderer's engines fired, and the ship began to move. It passed the viewport where the children were watching. They waved as it passed, faces pressed against the glass. Danny waved back. The ship entered hyperspace, jumping toward home. Behind it, the galaxy continued to turn. Trillions of beings lived their lives, fought their wars, made their choices, and somewhere in the archives, in history books and council records, a new chapter was being written. A new story added to the legend of humanity. The rules stayed the same. It had always been the same. It would always be the same. Never harass humans. Never underestimate them. Never give them a reason to fight. Because when you do, they will come for their people. They will free the enslaved. They will topple empires. And they will always remind you why the rule exists. The stars stretched out forever, beautiful and cold and waiting. The humans flew on.